Hi, welcome to my video on the order of operations on rational numbers. Order of operations on rational numbers. The order of operations follows PEMDAS or BEDMAS. Both of them are the same. The only difference is that P stands for parentheses and BEDMAS stands for brackets, but in my mind, parentheses and brackets are the same. Then they have E for exponents, E-X-P-O-N-E-N-T-S, and E is for exponents. And multiplication division, it's division multiplication. And AS is addition subtraction. So you do the int. So this is the first thing you do, but you do the inside of each of those first. You do the inside. And then after you got the parentheses or brackets done, you do the exponents. And after you get the exponents done, you do multiplication division left to right. Or you do division or multiplication from left to right. It makes no difference because as you go from left to right, whatever you find, that's what you do. And the last is addition and subtraction. So let's do some examples. Let's simplify each of these. Pause the video now and see if you can work these out correctly. And then when you get all 6 of these done, press play to see if you're right. Here we go. We have to do the parentheses. I write down PEMDAS or BEDMAS, whatever you want, is your choice. Don't have to write down both. So I have brackets, so I have to do the inside of these brackets first. The common denominator for 3 and 2 is 6. So you multiply the 1/3 by 2 over 2, and you multiply the 1/2 by 3 over 3. That will give you 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 3 is 6, and 1 times 3 is 3, and 2 times 3 is 6. And notice I have a subtraction here. So when we subtract, if you want, you can add on the opposite. And the common denominator is 6, write it down. 2, add on -3 is -1, because when we add positive and negative, we subtract the numbers and take the more sign of the one that has the A. Could be the larger absolute value, which is 3 here, or 2 here, so it's got to be this one. Or the one that has more off, your choice. And now that we have that simplified, because we're 18 over 1, because we're multiplying with fractions, we can cancel. 6 goes 1, 6 into 18 goes 3. So we get 3 times -1 is -3 over 1, which ends up to be -3. Equal sign. B. Again, PEMDAS. Oh, I forgot to scratch out. I did my parentheses first. I had that done. Then I had to say, any exponents? No. So then I do multiplication, division, left to right. And there's no addition, subtraction. PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S, write it down. D and P. I have to do the inside of these brackets first before I divide. Most important. And the common denominator for 10, 5, and 2 is 10. Because 10 is a multiple of 5, 10 is a multiple of 2. So I multiply 5 by 2 over 2, and I multiply 1/2 by 5 over 5, 5 over 5. -10 plus 2 4s are 8, 5 2s are 10, plus -1 times 5 is -5 over 10. That's done. So I'm going to add all these up and see what we're going to get. Common denominator is 10. So 8 subtract 1, or -1 plus 8 is 7. 7 and -5 is 2. Notice I can reduce this down. So let's go 1/5 divided by -2/5. And 1/5, when I divide, I multiply by the reciprocal. So reciprocal is turn it upside down. 5 over 2. But don't put the negative in the bottom. Always have the negative in the numerator. Because I'm multiplying, I cancel. 5 into 5 is once. 5 into negative 5 is negative 1. And when I multiply that, I get 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. 1 times 2 is 2. And again, when I was working these out, I forget because I'm working these out, I got to do brackets, done, then multiplication, no exponents, multiplication, division. PEMDAS again, PEMDAS. Let's see if we can. Now there's no inside of the brackets to do, but we have exponents. Negative 1/4 times negative 1/4 is positive 1 over 16. It's negative 1/4 times negative 1/4. Subtract, and negative 1/2 multiplied 3 times negative 1/2 times negative 1/2 times negative 1/2 gives you negative 1 over 8. Notice you're multiplying 3 negatives, so it's going to give you a negative. And we have the exponents done, so okay, leave that alone. Now we have to do multiplication, division, but there's none, so we scratch them out. Now we do addition and subtraction from left to right. So I got 1 over 16, but I got a double negative, so a double negative makes it positive. So I got that. And I'm subtracting 1, so that's the same as adding on negative 1. Okay, so we're going to add all these up. Common denominator for 16 and 8 is 16, so 1 over 16, 1 over 8, and a negative 1 is a negative. The 8 is multiplied by 2 over 2 to give me 2 over 16. Okay. And the negative 1 is a negative 16 over 16. So note there, I'm looking for common denominator 16. And 16 is my denominator. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 add on negative 16 is a negative 13. And that's done. And okay. D, PEMDAS, again, my PEMDAS. And let's see, I have no brackets, I have no exponents, so I got to do multiplication. So notice I have a subtraction here and a multiplication. I have to do this multiplication first. So 3 into 3 goes once, and that gives me negative 8. Subtract, 1 times 5 is 5. 8 times 1 is 8, and I have subtraction, so I can add on the opposite. Both common denominators are 8, and when I add negative 1, negative 5 is a negative 6. I add them up and take a negative, and I see that there's a GCF of 2. 2 into negative 6 is negative 3. 2 into 8 goes 4. Done. E, P, E, M, D, A, S, P. And I got brackets to do, so let's work out the inside of these brackets and leave all the rest alone. So we're going to do here. 16 is a common denominator for 16 and 8, so I multiply 8 by 2 over 2. Negative 3 over 16, subtract. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 8 is 16. And because I have a subtraction, I will add on the opposite, add on negative 2. Common denominator is 16. Add up, I get negative 5. Okay, that bracket is done. Now I have to do my exponent. So, voila, just write that down. So I have my bracket completed. Now I got to do my exponent. So negative 5 over 16, subtract. Notice I square this first. So when negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. 2 times 2 is 4. So now my square is done. So that's done. Now I got to do multiplication, division, and there's none. There's only a subtraction here. So when I subtract, I add on the opposite. Common denominator is 16 for 16 and 4, so I multiply it by 4 over 4. Negative 5 over 16. Add on negative. 4 9s is 36 over 16. Common denominator is 16, write it down. When I add, I get a negative 41. 16 into 41 goes 2, that's 32, and 9, so 9 over 16, but it's a negative number, so it's a negative mixed numeral. F, PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S, I have to do the inside of my brackets first. So here we go. And on the inside of this, I have to multiply. Again, on the inside, you still obey the order of operations if you got more than one operation to do. So I have to do my multiplication before I add. So I can cancel. 4 and 4 goes once. 4 and -4, -1. So that's a -3 over 5. Add on. That's a 1 times -1 is -1. 1 times 5 is 5. And I still have to work on the inside of that till it's fully simplified. So when I add these, 5 is a common denominator, and I get a -4 when I add -3, -1. So that's done. I have no exponents. Now I got to do my multiplication division. But before I divide, change my mixed number rule to 20 plus 7 is 27 over 10 negative. So I do that first. Done. Now I have to, when I divide, I multiply by the reciprocal, which is a -5 over 4. You turn it upside down. But remember, even though it's a 5 over -4, the negative never goes in the bottom, so you move it to the top. And because we're multiplying, we cancel. -5 into -5 is -1. 5 into 10 goes 2. So we have -27 times -1 is 27 over 8. 3 eighths are 24, and we got 3 left over. Final answer. So that's practice the order of operations on the fractions. Very important. Very important. Now we have, you can say practice here. So we're going to do the same thing again, but what you can do is work all these out to see if you just see me work them out. You could have worked them out on the other page too, but now you can work these out to see if you're going to get them all right. So you got 7 to do. Pause the video and press, when you get them all done, press play. Here we go. PEMDAS. PEMDAS. So I have no, inside the brackets are already done, so I have to do the square first. 9 over 2. And -2 times -2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. So the exponents are done. So notice, I only did my squaring. I wrote down everything else. Now I got to do multiplication division. So it's a multiplication here and here. So I leave that add. I do not add till after. When I multiply two fractions, I cancel. 9 to 9 goes 1, 1. Cancel the 2. 2 into 2 goes once. 2 into 4 goes 2. 2 times 1 is 2 over 1, which is just 2. And you cancel here because that's 7 over 1. The 7's cancel once. So that gives me -6 over 1, which is -6. And when I add, I get -4. Number 2, PEMDAS. PEMDAS. I have to do the inside of my bracket first. Here we go. Write it all down. And I'm subtracting, so I'm going to add on the opposite. So -2 is -2 over 1. Common denominator is 4. So that gives me -8 over 4 plus -3 over 4. You multiply by 4 over 4. You have that done. So you add those. 4 is the denominator, and you get a -11. So I have the inside of the brackets done. Now I'm going to square. That gives me 121 over 16 divided by -11. Exponent is done. Now I have a subtraction and division. In multiplication division, I do the division first. So 121 over 16 times, that's a -11 over 1, so it's 1 over -11, but the negative never goes in the bottom. I have my division flipped around. Now I got to do my multiplication. So when you multiply, you cancel. Top to bottom. 11 into 11 goes once, 11 into 121 goes 11. So that gives me 1, and I subtract negative 11 times negative 1 is a negative 11 over 16. And notice I have a double negative, so that makes it a positive. So 16 add on that, well that's easy, 1 and 11 over 16. Easy to add. And PEMDAS for number 3, PEMDAS, here we go. I have no brackets, I have no exponents. I got to do multiplication, division left to right. So I got a multiplication here and here. So let's work these two out. 6 into 6 goes once, 6 into 18 goes 3. Remember, 18 is over 1. So you're canceling top to bottom. Negative 15. And the 9 is over 1, so we cancel top to bottom. 9 to 9 goes 1, 1. So that gives me plus negative 4. And add is negative 19. Adding two negatives, you add them up, take a negative. PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S. We have to do the inside of the brackets first. Common denominator is 8, so we multiply by 2 over 2. Negative 6 over 8 plus 3 over 8. And we write the rest of the problem down. Oh, I got to do the inside of this one too, so I got to need a common denominator of 4. So I multiply this one by 2 over 2, so that gives me 2 over 4. Just as well to work the inside of both brackets first when I'm at it. So this gives me 8 as a common denominator, and it gives me negative 3. And this one gives me 4 as a common denominator. 2 minus 1 is 1. And we have the brackets done. We have to do the exponent. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. 8 eighths are 64 divided by 1/4. Exponent is done. Because we're dividing, we multiply by the reciprocal, which is 4 over 1. Because we're multiplying fractions, we cancel top to bottom anywhere. 4 into 4 goes once, 4 into 64 goes 8. That gives me 9 over 8. 8 into 9 goes once, and 1 left over. Number 5, PEMDAS. Inside of the brackets first. Here we go. That's 11. So 2 is over 1, so we need a common denominator of, have to multiply it by 6 over 6. So 1, 6, remember we're doing the inside of the brackets first. So 2 over 1 times 6 over 6 is 12 over 6. Notice 2 is a 12 over 6. 6 is my denominator. And I have that done. So, right. So we have to simplify. So that's because I'm subtracting, I'm going to add on the opposite. Common denominator is 6. 1 add on negative 12 is a negative 11. So the inside of the brackets is done. Okay. Now I have to do my exponent next. So leave this alone. Don't touch. Not supposed to. So I square this, I get a 1 over 9. Negative 1 over 3 times negative 1 over 3, negative, negative, positive 1 over 9. Now I have my exponents done. Now I have to do my multiplication division. So I multiply these. So when you multiply, you cancel. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. And 1 times 6 is 6 plus 1/9. Common denominator for 6 and 9 is 18. So 18 times 9 times 2 and 6 times 3. Negative 3, 18 plus 2, 18. You multiply with negative 1 times 3. 2 times 1. Common denominator is 18, and you add up, you get negative 1. And we do PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S again. No brackets, no exponents. We got to do multiplication division, but they're all multiplication. So we work from left to right after we change the mixed numeral to an improper fraction. 6 plus 1 is 7. Notice I have a division, so I can flick this, I can multiply these two first, Or I can, because I have multiplication division, I'm going to work left to right. I can do this division right now. And when you divide, you multiply by the reciprocal. I could have worked out these two first and then did my division after, either or. Now I got multiplication all the way around. I go left to right, but I can cancel now anywhere as long as I'm multiplying. I'm multiplying these fractions, multiplying the 3d, so I can cancel anywhere from top to bottom. 7 into 7 goes once. 3 into negative 3 goes negative 1 and 4. 2 into 4 goes 2. 2 into 6 goes 3. So I have 4, 2, no cancellation. Multiply. Negative 3 on the top and 8 on the bottom. If you didn't have all your cancellation done, when you get down right here, you can see that 3 and 8 has no common factor. So you're okay. And number 7, I made it a long one for you. Here we go. Do the inside of the brackets first. So just take your time. Notice, even though it takes a while to write all this down, when you get used to doing this, you can take some shortcuts. But I'm not going to take any shortcuts until I know what to do. But if you're confident, then you can do two things at one time. Common denominator is 6. So we multiply by 2 over 2 and 3 over 3. Negative 2 over 6, add on 3 over 6. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. 1 times 3 is 3. And that's 1 over 6. So notice I have my bracket done. Scratch it out. Now I have to do my exponent. Here we go, exponent. 1 over 36 when you square. Okay, that's done. And you could have said to yourself, oops, that's a division there. You could have said to yourself, well, how come it didn't work these out? Well, I'm following the order. Now I'm going to do multiplication, division. I'm going to do this one and this one next. So 1 over 36. Because I'm multiplying, I cancel top to bottom. 5 into 25 is 5. 5 into 30 goes 6. That gives me negative. 1 times 5 is 5. And 1 times 1 is 1. Oh, that's a 6 there. That 6 is not canceled out. I thought it was canceled out. Nope. I drew the line there and I thought I had the line going through the 6, but it's not. I canceled. 5 into 5 goes 5 times 5 into 6 goes 5 into 30 goes 6, so it's 5 over 6. Add on. I'm dividing, so let's multiply by the reciprocal. I could write that down again, but save yourself time. Just write it down on the side. Now cancel. 7, negative 1. That gives you negative 11 over 6. Sometimes you can take little shortcuts. And the common denominator is 36, so I multiply by 6. Multiply by 6. Negative 1 over 36. Subtract 30 over 36. Add on. Negative 66 over 36. And because we're subtracting, we add on the opposite. And common denominator is 36. So I get 66, that's a 60. Add on 1 is 65, so that's a negative 95. And 36 goes into 96. Let's see, 36 goes into 95, sorry. I know my answer is going to be negative. 36 times 2 is 72. Subtract, I get a 23. So it's a 2 and 23 over 36. 23 is prime, can't reduce down. So notice, this is me working this out. Normally you don't get them this long. I'm only having a bit of fun working the fractions, working my skills. Because if you can manipulate these and know what you're doing with fractions, you're doing excellent. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the video. And if you like what you see, click the like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell. I'll be doing more videos in the near future. Write a comment on my video if you wish, and visit my website at www.mathfullyexplained.com. Get information about me, which is my degrees and teaching experience. Section on videos tells you about the teaching strategies that I'm going to use. And in the section on content, you'll see the units or the topics that I'm going to be doing my videos on my channel, and to give you the number of videos on each of the topics. And black font is what I have completed already, and the red font is what I will be doing in the near future. Excuse me. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.